Okay. These follow the same rules. Right, so if I have two negatives, my answer is positive. If I have a positive and a negative together, my answer is going to be negative. Okay. Now, you will have access to a calculator, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do this the long way. Oops, that's 0.02. Now you'll notice there's a negative right here. So I have a positive and a negative. That means my answer is going to be negative something. And then I ignore it and I just do the multiplication. And then I have 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So I have 1, 2, 3 decimal places in my answer. So it's negative 0.144. Here I have a negative times a positive again. So my answer is going to be negative. Okay, so I'm just going to do this multiplication. And I'm not going to multiply times the zeros. It doesn't add anything. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So I have to have 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. But look what happens. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, I have to put a 0 in there and then my decimal place. So that's negative 0.0270. Mostly I'm concerned with not that you can multiply the decimals, because like I said, most of the time you'll probably have a calculator handy, but that you know that if I multiply 5.4 times 0.005 and one of them is negative, that this has to be negative. Here I have negative times negative, so my answer is going to be positive. So I have 2 decimal places here, so I'm going to have 2 decimal places here. Okay, dividing, I'm dividing, whenever you see this, that's 23.94 divided by 10.5. So the 10.5 goes on the outside. Okay, you cannot actually divide by decimals, so I have to move this over, which means I have to move that over. And bring it up. So I have 105 into 239.4. Well, that's going to go twice, which is going to be 210. Which will go twice. Add a 0. And that will go 8 times. And I had a negative divided by negative, so my answer is positive. Okay, again, I cannot actually divide by decimals, so I move it over once and bring it up. So I have 24 into 68.4. 24 will go into 68 twice. And it will go into 204. See, and I already had this worked out. I'm gonna say 8 times. Maybe 9 times. Yeah, 9 times. So that's 196. My 0. And it will go into 83 times. And I'm just going to go ahead and stop there and say that it's 2.9. And it's a negative divided by negative, so it's positive. Alright, we have 2 ways we can do this. We can do straight across, then reduce. Or you can cross cancel. There's a C in there. Cancel, then multiply. Okay, so I'm going to do the same problem twice using both methods. Okay. Okay. Let me make this a little smaller. Okay, so your first option is you can multiply straight across. Okay. 6 times 15 is 90. And 10 times 27 is 270. Okay. I can then reduce that. Just from looking at this, I know it's going to divide by 9. Which will give me 10 over 30. Which will then divide by 10. Which is going to give me 1/3. Okay. Now I didn't pick the best example because this is reducible. So normally you wouldn't reduce first, you just cross cancel, but here we're going to reduce first. So we're going to end up with 3/5, right? So this was reduced. Cross canceling works this way. I look at the crosses like an X, 3 and 27. I can divide both of those by 3, right? So if I divide 3 by 3, I get 1. If I divide 27 by 3, I get 9. And then 5 and 15 both divide by 5. Oh, see, I get to reduce again. That's wrong. 5 divided by 5 is not 5. It's 1. Okay, then multiply, and I get 3 over 9, which then will reduce to 1/3. Okay. So, but cross-canceling gave me smaller numbers to work with. Now, some people are more comfortable multiplying straight across and then reducing. Some people are more comfortable doing the cross cancellation and reducing first and then multiplying. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, it's the same answer. So pick the way that makes the most sense to you. I really don't. It's the same thing. Big fat thing. You cannot multiply mixed numbers. Cannot. Okay? So you have to convert them to fractions. That's okay, so let's say I have 2.5 times 3 1/4. Okay, I can't multiply this. So to convert them, you multiply and add. So let me do that here. Multiply and add. So what I have is 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, and the denominator stays the same. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13, and the denominator stays the same. then I can multiply. They won't cross cancel. So I'm going to just do 5 times 13, which is 65, over 2 times 4, which is 8. And you can leave it like this. This is fine. Or if you want, you can convert it back into a mixed number. But either answer is fine. In algebra, improper fractions are totally acceptable, as long as they're reduced. Reciprocal. Oh, you know what? I want to. Okay, reciprocals are just flipped numbers. Okay, so if I have 2/3, the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. These are reciprocals of each other. If I have a whole number, the reciprocal of a whole number is 1 over that number. Your number to start out with is negative. Your reciprocal is also negative. So you just flip them over. That's all reciprocal means, is like flipped over. Okay. So now, this is important because when we divide fractions, you actually multiply by the reciprocal. And I have heard like keep change flip and was it KCF instead of KFC, it's KCF, keep change flip. I didn't learn it that way. What I learned was copy dot flip, but you can also use keep change flip. Okay, so what does that mean? If I have two fractions and I want to divide it. Okay. Now, if we were multiplying, we could cross cancel these 2's, couldn't we? But we're not multiplying, we're dividing, so we can't cross cancel yet. You can only cross cancel with multiplication. So what this means is I copy the first number, that stays the same. I keep it or copy it. I dot or change to multiplication, and then I flip the second number. So I'm multiplying by the reciprocal, and then I multiply straight across. Okay. Now if I have a situation like this, now that I've changed it to multiplication, now you can cross cancel, right? So I can cross cancel these 3's and then multiply. Okay, so you cannot cross cancel division, but you can cross cancel multiplication, so just be really careful with that. If we can't multiply mixed numbers, do you think we can divide them? No. So we have to do the same thing. If I have 2 1/4 and I want to divide that by 3 1/2, I have to convert them. So 2 1/4, that's 8 9, so 9/4 divided by 6 7, so 7/2. And then once I've converted them to improper fractions, then I can change it to multiplication. So I'm multiplying by the reciprocal, or copy dot flip, or keep change flip, however you want to remember it, whatever works for you. Okay, I can cross cancel here the 2 and the 4. 2 goes into 2 once and 2 goes into 4 twice. So that gives me 9/14.